Well, good evening, everybody. How are we doing tonight? It's a fine Tuesday evening here in Southern Ontario, and I'd just like to welcome everybody to another edition of CanoeHound's Outdoor Adventure Show. This is episode number 22, and I'm your host, Dennis, also known as CanoeHound. I hope everyone had a fantastic week and that you had the opportunity to get yourselves outdoors. I know down here in Southern Ontario, it's starting to warm up. Things are starting to melt around here, which is a good sign. That means hopefully we'll be paddling out there paddling very soon. And I think that's exactly what we all need after this winter is to get ourselves a little time out there on the water. CanoeHound's Outdoor Adventure Show is a weekly live stream show that brings you closer to the great outdoors. The show is geared towards bringing you hot topics and interviews with YouTube creators and outdoor personalities that you enjoy and watch. And of course, we're live here every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So mark your calendars and feel free to join us on a weekly basis. Love to have you all along for the ride. You can also follow us on Facebook at CanoeHound's Outdoor Adventure Show. To be alerted and up to date on exactly what's happening with upcoming shows and events and things of that sort. We'd love to have you on there, so hit that page and for sure get to like us on there. If you're able to take a moment right now, I ask that if you can, please try to share this live stream out. Get it out on your Facebook, Twitter, even on your community tab on YouTube if you have the opportunity or if you have that available to you. Just helps the show be a little bit larger and gives a larger audience for tonight's guest. A little bit of news this weekend coming up is Canoeopia going on in Madison, Wisconsin. That's on the 13th, 14th, and 15th, I believe. And I will be at the show on the Saturday and on the Sunday. So if you happen to be at the show or you're in the area, stop on in, check it out. Buy yourself a new canoe or something. Get ready for this paddling season. But also, if you see me at the show, please do come up. I love meeting everybody and saying hi. Maybe we could share a couple stories or a few tips or a little bit of advice. That would be great. So if you do see me at the show, please come up. I'm very approachable. And who knows, I might have a little bit of CanoeHound Adventure swag to doll out to everybody. So come on up and see me there. As you know, I love to hear your feedback on this show. So if you have any ideas for upcoming guests or topics for shows or anything along that lines, please drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. You can send that to me and just introduce yourself if you haven't already done so, and let me know that you'd like to see somebody in particular on the show or a particular topic. I know I've got a list about this long right now that I'm working through. And we've got a few great shows coming up here within the next month and a half there. I've got a few really good guests lined up, which I'll go over in 1 second here. And, I'll go over it right now. Next weekend, because it's of Canoeopia, I won't be back until the Monday, so it's going to be really hard to organize the show for Tuesday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of have like an open forum where we'll have a bunch of panelists up here. We're going to have a St. Patrick's Day celebration, all of us. We can get on here, have a good time, maybe tell some stories. We can find out what everybody's going to be up to in the spring there for ice out trips or any fancy hiking trips or anything that's outdoor related coming up in the future. So St. Patty's Day, get out your nice green hat, grab some green beer and your leprechaun shoes, and come on over here to CanoeHound Adventures and join us on the show for a fun night, hopefully. The week after that, going to be a very good show. We've got Karina and Ryan from Alexis Outdoors. They'll be on the show as guests, and we'll be talking about the amazing growth that her channel has had over the last year. She's her YouTube channel is on fire right now, and for good reason. She's got some super content. So if you have that opportunity, check us out on the 24th. That would be with Alexis Outdoors. And then on April the 7th, we have singer-songwriter Jerry Vanderveer will be on the show as our special guest. And I imagine that's going to turn out to be a very fun show. Having a singer-songwriter on here, maybe he'll grace us with a few of his good tunes. Maybe he'll play his Blue Bandana Blues and something along that lines. Maybe I'll even put in a request there. Maybe get him to play Mia Molly, which is a great song because, as you know, I have a dog named Molly, and the first time I heard that song, I darn near crapped myself. good song about me and Molly and my canoe. So that's all good. Now, before we get to our guests, you guys know that this is an interactive show, and your participation in the chat is more than welcome. If you have any questions for tonight's guest or during the panel discussion for anybody on the panel, please do put it into the comment or into the chat section, which would be over here. And we want to make sure that you put the word question in capital letters beforehand so I can recognize it. I'm a one-man show, so if it gets by me, please repost it. I have no problem with that at all. So let's get some questions going for our guest. Tonight's guest is the founder and president of the Outdoor Kind LLC, and he wears a lot of professional hats. He's an award-winning writer and photographer and has hundreds of articles and photos published in periodicals around the world. Some of his video documentary work has appeared in Smithsonian Institution's Natural Museum of American History. There's my trip word of the night. Our guest is also a lifelong outdoorsman and a correspondent for the Paddling Adventures radio podcast, the former editor of the American Motorcyclist magazine. He's currently in countdown status on his Facebook page and on his website at T-minus 89 days. Yes, T-minus 89 days for his upcoming Yukon Journey, which we'll be discussing tonight. Please welcome to the live stream, John Van Barriger. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Good to see you tonight.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you know what? You guys in the chat, you've probably seen this fella on the stream before. He's been on a few times as a panelist, and back when we had the Paddling Adventure radio guys on here, and you were on last week, as a matter of fact. We're talking Canoecopia.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is coming up, right?
Which is coming up this weekend. Yeah. So we finish up here. I go back into my office. I'm putting the finishing touches on a presentation about paddling in Texas, and then I will end up going down there. Visiting my parents, going from the show to the Everglades, paddling that, and then shooting up to Waterloo for the Backcountry Canoe Symposium on April 4th. And so, so right now it's just crazy. So that countdown for the Yukon Journey, that seems like a long way away, but watching those numbers roll off is
daily. Yeah. I remember first starting to watch it, you were in the hundreds, and it's just been ticking away.
Yeah, I think we started at 150 was when we started that. Yeah. And but it's, the flip side of that, it's just so cool to go back and pull up those images, and, it reminds you of what an amazing place that is, so.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll get into the Yukon Journey in a bit. We've actually got a few things to touch on because you are a guy that truly, like I introduced you, wear many hats. Yeah, got a nice hat. Where's your?
Oh, that might be. You might see that later.
Oh, okay. All good. So, who is John Van Barriger? Tell the people who you are. In a nutshell.
A cheesehead, a goofball from Wisconsin. Boy, that's you surprised me with that question. Ask me something about the outdoors.
Ask you something about. Well, here, let me throw my itinerary. I usually throw my itinerary of questions over to the side, right? Because usually the conversation will carry itself through, and we'll get going on stuff, right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, well, tell us then about what is the Outdoor Kind. We'll
the Outdoor Kind is it's a family-owned business that my wife and I started. I think it's 3 years ago now, and it came about because we felt that there was a need to let people know about the important work that first responders do, because we tend not to think about that, right? Like we'll get in our car and we'll throw the canoe up on top or kayak on top, and we'll go to the river or the lake and we'll paddle, hop back in the car, and go back home. We never really think, but in every part of that process, every step, there's a first responder there who will help you if you have problems, right? From the time you leave your driveway to the time you're out in the backcountry till the time you get back out. And so that was important for us. That lesson was driven home to me up in the Yukon in 2013. And my friend Mark and I paddled into a 47,000 acre forest fire. And so search and rescue was out. And I think I've mentioned this to you before, where, all of these different first responder groups doing different jobs, coordinated, and it was amazing, and we left there just so impressed about what they do that we wanted to help out some way. So, most of, and like little rural volunteer fire departments, right? That's why they have, they do spaghetti dinners and pancake, breakfasts and things like that to raise money, because even though our taxes go to help them, it doesn't cover all their needs. So what we wanted to do was, by taking donations and selling shirts and other things, that we would be able to then kind of, funnel money to them so they could focus on what they do best. So that's what we've been doing. There's a big education piece to it too. And so we also started going out to the shows. We started producing safety gear, of which one piece is the oh shit emergency kit. And we talk about that a lot because preparation is so key. And so we started doing that because our fire advisor, Chad Williamson, said, the best way to help a first responder is to not have to call one in the first place. Right. So that's kind of how that started out.
That's cool. So now we'll get into the old kit there. Hopefully we could do maybe 5 or 10 minutes on that there, because it's some great information for everybody here in the chat tonight. So now your program, does it deal with both Canadian and American first responders?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of one of the key things too, right? Like from the get-go, because it was, that fire that we paddled into was up in Canada. And, fire doesn't respect boundaries. Our countries are very different, but we also have a lot of similarities, right? And we share the longest, the longest undefended border in the world, I think. Mm-hmm. We're huge trading partners. There's so many things that we share in common. We just wanted to make sure that was just an inherent piece of it from the get-go. So we give funds to first responder groups throughout North America.
Right. So now, people are maybe asking, like, what can they do to help support this? I see you got some like really cool logo stuff going on there. You got the mug going, you got the T-shirts going. How can people actually support the Outdoor Kind?
Yep. The Outdoor Kind piece is, we have, and talk a little bit about this stuff later, like with the Yukon Journey, but we have like the logos, the stickers, and just different things like that they can find on our website. And that allows us then to go ahead and produce stuff in printing and, taking things out to shows, and because that's so important, right? And then we also take that money, and that's what goes to first responders. So if somebody donates or buys something from us, it's 100% of that money, of the profits from that, go to first responders or to education. We don't take anything from, that's the other thing I guess I should say, we don't take anything from this at all, like $0. This is it's a labor of love, and we do it because we believe in it.
Well, that's a really good heartfelt thing to do. It's it obviously says that you're putting your heart in the right place, right?
Well, they do so much for us, right? I mean, they run in when people are running out, and right. I mean, you can't, that's they're the best of us. So we want to do what we can to help. The people say, well, how can you give 100% of the sale from the profit? What I do, and we'd like to let people know this, so there is no confusion, is I'll go out and I'll speak at a lot of public events, and a lot of times at those events they'll give me a speaker stipend. And so what I do is I take the speaker stipend, and that's what I pay for website and accounting and all those business things. So we don't have to take any of the money from the donations or sales. All of that, like I say, all of that goes directly to them. So
now was it that you and I were speaking by email through the week as we were corresponding for the show, mm-hmm. and you had mentioned that you had an experience with a first responder. Is this one of the reasons? I mean, you can tell us that story. Well, okay, maybe I should phrase that. No, you had an incident where a first responder actually helped you out in a situation.
Well, yeah, but it's like one of the like great moments in irony, because I went to an event. It was up in Solon Springs, Wisconsin, and I went to this event to to speak about safety and to talk about the Yukon Journey. And as I was setting up the booth and getting ready, I had a picture and in a frame, and I was just, it's a little bit dusty, so I just ran my hands along like this, right, and then down the sides. And when I did that, just one of those little clips was out back, and I sliced my fingers open.
Oh,
and yeah, so there was a group of their fire department was very well represented at this show, and so Krista ended up taking care of me and bundling me up a couple times because it was bleeding so bad. And finally, I had to leave the show early and go to the emergency room because it just wouldn't stop. So then people are joking because, now we see why you want to support first responders, because you're accident prone and you need it.
That's another story in itself, right? I remember when you were on with the boys from Paddling Adventures Radio, we were talking about a couple of incidents. I guess one happened while you were on your Yukon Journey last time, correct? Something about your
journey last time. I was actually pretty good. And I can't figure out what this is, right? Because if it's something I do in my backyard, I tend to hurt myself. When I go halfway across North America out into the wilderness, things are good.
Yeah.
Which
for everybody in the chat down below here, you can see I've got the Outdoor Kind LLC website. If you go on there's all kinds of swag and different things that you can do to basically learn about the Outdoor Kind as well. Get more information. Are you getting feedback?
I'm not. Are you?
I got a little bit. Maybe it's my end. But so, John, can you show everybody what is actually for sale on the website? Because you guys got some really cool stickers.
Yeah, we've got. If you can see, I move this way. You can see the shirts, and what we do is we wanted to take designs of North American animals, North American wildlife, doing the things that we love, right? So you can see canoeing moose. Behind me is the bicycling wolf. If I go, let's see, this way. Yeah, you can see the moose there. But we do have stuff like the stickers. So for boats, cars, we've got some coasters that we're taking out to the shows right now. We haven't done anything with those. We also have some new stickers, some holographic stickers that's specifically for the Yukon Journey. But that's the sales or sort of donations piece off of the Outdoor Kind, and you can take links through to find those things. But you'll also find, if you are on there, you'll find the list for the emergency kit, and there's some that you can download. And so we have that on there for the 3-season kit, and then the winter kit as well. So we want people to be able to, we hope people support us somehow, right? And if they come to the shows, people are so nice because when they understand what it is, they'll, so you got a $2 sticker or whatever, and they'll give you $5 and say, put it to good use. I mean, that's kind of cool. So, so if somebody wants to do that, we certainly wouldn't say no.
Well, that's awesome. So you guys, if you get out there and you can actually support this cause. Now, I believe I've ordered the shirt that you're wearing, right?
Yes, you did. In fact,
similar shirt.
It showed up today.
Oh snap! So, that's all right.
I'll be bringing that to Canoecopia for you.
And it's green. Maybe I'll wear that for the St. Patty's Day show here.
There you go. Yeah,
that's awesome. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's see here. I've got a question here from Retired Outside. He's asking, Ree, the Jackalopes, how did you ever get a picture? I thought they moved too fast to that.
Yeah, the jackalopes out in the wild, I've been very fortunate to find those pretty much wherever I've traveled. And so it honestly started as a joke when I worked at American Motorcyclist magazine. And we had kind of a contest where whoever brought back from their trips, so you go out and you'd cover a race or a road rally or whatever it might be. And then we'd have contests to see who could bring back the tackiest souvenir. And so one year I found the jackalope out in was it Waldrug, South Dakota. and I put it in a picture. So we had a Harley loaner, and I'd taken the Harley up, and it was up, I think, on Mount Evans in Colorado. So, you know, it's this beautiful mountain bowl, and you're getting the pictures, and it's gorgeous. And I took the Jackalope. Looks a little like this one, not exactly.
He makes an appearance.
Yeah. Well, I had to. And I put it on a rock near the motorcycle. And I didn't tell anybody at the magazine about it. So they went through and they had all the separations and they did the layout. And I thought, this is really cool. This is going to get in publication. And about a week before we went to press, the graphic designer looked at it and went, wait a minute. And she was able to move it like over and just crop it off behind the motorcycle. And I was bummed at the time. I'm like, oh, you know, that would have been great. And, you know, a little hindsight, you go like, I would have been fired, you know. So, so that's the Jackalopes have been on every trip, and I've got them from the Great Barrier Reef. I sunk one on the Great Barrier Reef to, yeah, I mean, they've been all over with me.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, you got to have your mascot, right?
That's right. I think that the most twisted thing was out in, I think it may have been in Glacier. We put it down on there was a busload of Japanese tourists, and they were coming off, and they're, you know, going, you know, just looking around and everything. And we put it down on the rocks near the edge of the lake, and they thought it was real. And so they picked up rocks and were throwing it at it to get it to move. And it was, you know, we're sitting back there, we're like, eh. So finally one guy went out and grabbed it and realized it's fake, you know. But yeah, that's when we knew we probably took it a little too far.
So next phase is you got to get yourself one of the ones with animatronics, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That's all right. So moving forward then with this whole outdoor kind thing, which everybody try and get on there and support the cause, because it is a good worthwhile cause. But now that kind of leads us into the whole Yukon journey. Now you've done one before, and now you're 89 days, 89 days away from doing it again.
Yeah, and it's 89 days from the time paddles hit the water, right? So you figure another week and possibly two in advance that I'll have to go up there. So that time is actually, you know, counting down pretty quickly. But so we thought, you know, it would be really cool to go up. And I mean, I've always wanted to paddle the whole river. That's been a bucket list thing. And thought, why not do it as a fundraiser for first responders? So we set that up, and we raised funds for, what was it, 7 different organizations in the US and Canada. And from, let's see, I'm trying to think, the farthest east was over in Ottawa, a group in Ottawa, and then that also worked into Quebec. And then the farthest west was, we donated some funds to a rural volunteer fire department up on Marsh Lake, which is one of the lakes that you pass on that actually forms part of the Yukon River. And so so we gave to organizations across, and people sent in donations for that. And it was, you know, their generosity was amazing. We really felt good about doing that.
Yeah. So right into the journey then. How long is the journey going to take you, this whole from start to finish?
It's about a roughly, it's going to be 3 months, figuring roughly a finish of August 26th. There is this time, last time what we had was, I guess there were layers of complexity to it that were kind of crazy, because we had through paddlers and then we had segment paddlers, but we had people flying in from, you know, like as far away as Wales, and you know, coming in, and one person in, one person out, which means you had to be here by a certain date and there, and it was kind of nuts. So this time I'm calling it the Maybe Whenever Tour. And I have my 2 dates that I really want to hit. I think I mentioned to you last time is Canada Day in Dawson City, because, you know, I mean, small town Canada Day, you can't beat it, right? It's the same with a small town US Independence Day. And then 100 miles down the river, get to for July 4th, U.S. Independence Day in Eagle, Alaska. So those are the only two firm dates. Right. If we start earlier or later, don't care, you know. But those 2 dates I want to hit. And then roughly somewhere around the end of August, we'll be done with it then. If all goes well this time. The last time we had issues and we weren't able to finish, we had to stop at the halfway point. So. Mm-hmm.
So your initial onset. This is a trip. Is it solo or are you starting with a partner?
Well,
you're using a kayak, right?
Well, there's a lot of things up in the air right now. The way this one looks like it's going to be, last year we had canoes and kayaks on it, and this year I believe I'm going to be solo canoeing it. This way I can go out, I can do what I want when I want. And we also have a huge education component with this one that's going to require me to do a lot of video, a lot of interaction from the river and from the river towns to schools in Canada and the US. So this is a whole new thing for this year's Yukon Journey. We've not really talked a lot about this with people yet. So sort of a scoop here with what we're doing. So being solo makes a lot of sense this time. Uh-oh, I lost your audio.
Oh, that's me. Sorry, I'm trying to cut back. I guess there's a little bit of feedback with my volume here. I'm not sure what's going on. I guess that's the joys of free streamware, right?
Yeah.
So I apologize for any technical issues going on here. But anyway, so you've got a lot of challenges to face. I know one challenge is your water.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. The water on the Yukon, once the White River comes in, at the confluence of the White and the Yukon, there's this, it's like the White has so much glacial silt in it that it comes in and it bubbles up into the Yukon. And from that point out to the Bering Sea, it is a gray, kind of nasty water. And you have to drop that silt out, or you get your drinking water from feeder streams. And then you can go ahead, then filter it or boil it or whatever you want to do, and then go from there. I tend to filter when I'm out there, just because I've got a gravity filter and I can set it up and I can get several days of water then to go. And that's why I think this trip I'll still be doing, even though solo, I'll still be taking a canoe. I think this time kayak's better for the big headwinds up there. But the canoe just gives you so many more options for gear, and especially with what we're going to do with the school thing, we're going to have some satellite Wi-Fi gear on there too. So I want to make sure that I have that stowed away really, really well.
Right. I'm going to get into a couple of questions here from some of the people in the chat.
Sure.
Let's see here. With all aspects of travel being impacted lately, do you expect your travels up to the Yukon to be impacted somehow by the coronavirus? And if so, do you have any backups in place?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? That's a good question, Matthew. I'm going on the theory that I'm driving up there. I will be at a large events, two big events soon, right? So I am hoping that we'll steer clear of that. I'm trying to take good precautions. I bought my 8,000 rolls of toilet paper. And like 100 gallons of sorry, I didn't, no, we just kind of look at it and say we'll do the best we can, and hope that it's fine. And if something happens where I get sick, then then you just play it by ear, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll have most of it liquid then. Let's you're still 89 days away.
That's right.
9 days away, right?
Yeah.
We got another question here from Retired Outside. What solo canoe are you taking? Well, in your case, it's a kayak, but.
Well, no, it will be a canoe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it will be a canoe. What I'm going to actually try to do first is Novacraft donated an 18-foot prospector in Tough Stuff Expedition layup, and it's an amazing boat. I fell in love with that up there because we had that thing overloaded, like crazy overloaded. And so what I'm going to try to do with that is when I get back from all these runs here, I'm going to wait for a really windy day, and I'm going to go down to a local lake here, and I'm going to take it out and load it down with the approximation of all the gear I'll have up there and see how it handles solo with it. It's a big boat for one person, right? Mm-hmm. And it might mean moving things around a bit. And there's even a possibility. A friend sent me one of the Verlin Kruger rudders that he, on all of his journeys, when he did those amazing journeys, those huge endurance and long distance runs, on his canoe, he had one of these rudders on there. So it might even be a thing where I'll try that and see. And if it's too much boat for me solo, then what I'll do is I'll probably look at picking up something before I go, just because, But I think this time the canoe is going to be the way to go, especially with all that gear.
Right. So what is the scope of the river travel that you're doing? Is it actually, are you looking at big white water, or are you just looking at, what are the conditions? You got a little bit of everything?
Yeah, so here's the killer thing about the Yukon River. Depending on whose mileage you read, it's anywhere from 1,800 to 1,980 miles. There is one portage in it that whole way.
Okay.
One port, yeah. I mean, you're just like, oh, okay, sign me up, right? Yep. There is one rapids section. Well, there's actually more than one, but there's one of any kind of, I guess, gravity, if you would. And it's more of it's a historic rapid section. They used to bring during the gold rush, which is the other great thing about the Yukon River, right? Is you have that incredible history of the gold rush. They would take steamboats upriver, and finally they went in and they dynamited the rapids so that they could get the steamships up through there a little bit easier. Wow. So the line in it is you always go right. It's called Five Finger Rapids, and you always go right. Everything that I can see, everything that I can find says if you go left, you die. And which is kind of like, yeah. So go right. And so that's the water mostly is, it's not a technical river, right? So what it really is, it's more the challenge of, being out in what can be some pretty extreme elements for 90 days. And it seems like that's an easy thing, but there's a shift somewhere around 3 weeks, because like up to 3 weeks or so, it feels like vacation. When you're out there for longer than 3 weeks, it feels different, right? And then you've got your miles to make. And so it can be just, pouring down crazy rain, and you still have to do 50 miles today, mm-hmm. And it's that kind of thing. And do you have the mindset to be able to do that? And so the river is, winds come up. That's one of the challenges with this river is winds. Winds will come up on the southern lakes. You can get big waves really quickly. And I mean, like on Lake Labarge, you can get really big waves. So, you have to be careful with that. You have to watch what you're doing down the southern lakes. As you get out toward the Bering, then you start dealing with, waves and tides and things like that as well. Mm-hmm. But, you've got wildlife you have to deal with along the way. You've got grizzly bears at the start, brown bears when you get out to the coast, black bears throughout, wolves. I had a wolf come up and sniff my tent last time. So you have all of those challenges, and the wildlife I love. It's a little different when you're out there by yourself. I mean, for people who solo trip and have a brown bear walk by your tent, that's a little, that's a different experience than when you're with a group of people, But there's, when you look at those countdown photos, if people want to take a look at the countdown photos, if you go to John Van Ryder, like writer, on Instagram, you'll see our countdown photos. And or if you're on Facebook and the Facebook groups, you can see those as well. But it's it's amazing, and it's tough, and it's wonderful, and I love it. I love everything about it up there.
It's on my bucket list.
Honestly, what I used to tell people was like, and this was just like before I was paddling, and I'd gone up to Alaska, and I was hiking around and camping and such. It was one of those things that if you ever think you want to do this, you got to go do it. Just even if there's a hint of it, because it's magic. Mm-hmm. Because you don't know when you're going around the corner, there could be a brown bear at water's edge, right? And you see them out there, and they're stunning. So, so I Dennis, you got to do it, man. You got to get up there at some point.
Oh man, maybe I can come up with it.
Come on up.
Stop on your way by, man. Pick me up.
There you go.
So, because you're going to be like this whole journey is going to take you through a bunch of small towns and settlements along the way. Do you have supply drops all the way along? Are you setting all that up?
Yeah, and that's the other reason I want to take the canoe too, right? Because solo and a couple of barrels, I only need really a couple of resupplies. Mm-hmm. So this last time, because we had up to, I think, 4 or 5 paddlers at different points, we went out and drove. Like, the mileage was insane, because we drove up there, dropped the canoe at the start point, basically, then drove over to Alaska, got all of the gear ready, dropped with a friend who was then going to send it out to the post offices out in the small, the rural communities, right out in the Alaskan bush. And then we drove up to the river. We drove up all the way up past Fairbanks, up to the Yukon River camp, dropped some stuff there, then turned around, went all the way back to Whitehorse to start. And it was, the mileage was insane. It's very much a planes, trains, and automobiles trip.
I was going to say, because you're starting at one point, you're driving up there. So that means you got to somehow get back to your vehicle from the other end, right?
Yeah. So yeah, and I was actually looking at flights today to see what I was pricing out some of that stuff as it gets closer. And it looks like I think Air Canada now has flights from Anchorage up to Whitehorse, which the last time there wasn't that's with one stop. There wasn't even that. I think it cost over $800 last time to be able to do that. And then this time, I think it was like $400. So, I mean, there you go. That's a lot of beer and pizza.
That's a lot of beer and pizza. And Lee Hunter's just asking, where's your trip going to conclude?
Where I plan it to conclude, Lee, is out in Imanik. But Lee knows how accident prone I am, and I think he was wondering if there might be a different place I'll end up this time. But Imanik is out on the Bering, or right near the Bering, and so we'll get out, or I'll get out there. I keep saying we because I'm used to it, but I'll get out there, and there's a little island that you can go out to right in the Bering, so I'll paddle out to that, and that's when we'll call it good. So
we got some really good questions coming in here from the chat. We'll stick on track with some of these. We got Retired Outside once again. Did any bears visit your camp on your first trip? Are there enough trees that you can hang your food, or do you stash it and cross your fingers?
Good question, Bill. Okay, so the thing with bears up there is they're in your campsite. In fact, I stayed with friends on Marsh Lake. John Stryker and Susan Walton have a place there. Susan may paddle along on the first part of this for fun. And I stayed with them before. When I got done on the last trip, I came back to their place and then was going to drive back home here. And they let me. They have a wall tent down near the lake, and I stayed down there. I love it. It's like my home away from home. And I left, and the very next day, a bear wandered up from that area and went up and was trying to figure out how to get into a freezer that they have on a porch. And so they're there. I mean, they're there all the time. So there are trees in sections of it. A lot of where you're at, though, you're out on rock bars. And so I have we did it a couple of different ways this time. And some of it's best practice and some of it's not, quite frankly, depending on who you talk to. I have some bear-proof barrels that I use for like emergency dehydrated food. So I've got about 10 days of emergency dehydrated food in the event the bear should get into the blue barrels, because we kept the blue barrels and they are not bear proof. And I realize that. So we maintain a really, really clean campsite. We move them away from where we are. I think it's keeping, but again, it's a really clean campsite, right? That's the key to it. And then even in the blue barrels, a lot of times we'll have them in waterproof bags, just to try to cut smell. So that is some best practice and it's some not. The places where you can actually hang food though, it's pretty rare up there. Yeah.
So you're answering all these questions from Lee. He wants to know if he has to enroll in summer school now.
They wouldn't have you back, buddy.
Obviously, there's an acquaintance there, right?
There is. Yeah, Lee's a great guy. He's a very enthusiastic winter camper. He and his family, and they're awesome. So yeah, he knows where all the bodies are buried though. So he could ask some really bad questions too.
So, Two for Adventure is asking, what will be your backcountry coffee of choice while on the trip?
Backcountry coffee of choice is I am taking up out for the Alaskan side. I'll go ahead. There's a great roastery in Madison, Wisconsin. In fact, you'll be when you're down at Canoeopia. It's called Just Coffee, and they make great coffee. And so I'll be taking a lot of that up with me. And then I'll ship that over to the Alaska side. For the Canadian side, there is Midnight Sun Roastery in Whitehorse. And oh man, I love their coffees. And so we'll get that. I've got a little hand grinder. I love my coffee. So I've got a little hand grinder and I will grind that up. I heat up the water, pour that in there, and wait for my brain to come alive before I start paddling and get going on the day.
Yeah, right. What you guys just last week there were doing some instant coffee tests there in Michigan.
Yeah.
None of them coming along?
You know what? I'll put some of them in there actually, just for the days where it's like I need just something quick, right? Yep. And that's a great thing for like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm at the age now, Dennis, where I used to have coffee in the morning and it was good for the day. Somewhere about 3 o'clock now, I need another hit. So that it's just very quick, right? A couple of them were good, but I love my that's one like the one. Pardon me?
I'm the same way. I like a nice dark roast, a nice bold coffee.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I mean, right? You keep saying like these things. What do I want to take? What do I need to take? Yep. And that coffee, fresh coffee in the morning, there's just something about that, right? That alone is a reason to take a canoe versus my kayak.
Well, hey, Jerry Vanderveer's got a song about that, right?
Right?
Yes, the camp coffee song. So more importantly, though, than the coffee, what's going to be going into the coffee? Right?
Well, there are some places where, at the end of the day where I'll have some coffee and maybe a little Jameson. And there are a lot of in all seriousness, a lot of the native communities, you're not allowed to have liquor there. And so, so you kind of look and say, okay, well, I can have something here I can't here, and you just deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. Because I want to be respectful to the people up there, right? This is their community that I'm visiting. I'm going into their house, so I'm definitely not going to do anything to upset them.
For sure.
Yeah.
We got another question coming in here from Adventures in the Heartland. What will you be using to store your stuff in on the canoes to keep it waterproof in case you dump?
Like a hike, would use a backpack. Okay. So let's see. I'm interested in taking a several day kayak. Okay. So what I'd recommend is getting some really good dry bags. If you're in a kayak, you'd want to get some that are probably 13 liter and smaller. So what you can do is, if you get good ones, don't scrimp on these. So go to something like Sea to Summit or somebody, and when you get these, you get them small like that so you can fill it up, and then you can push it into different spots in the kayak, right? When I first started kayaking, my wife and I decided we were going to go up to Backcountry up near Wawa in Lake Superior Provincial Park. And I thought, well, why buy a small bag like that when one of these big ones is so much cheaper for, comparatively speaking, right? So I bought all these really big bags that didn't fit in the kayak. So we ended up just shoving stuff in and then pulling them out one by one, with food. So I would say get some really good dry bags, different sizes, mostly small, and do that. And I think, here's hoping I won't go over to find out, how well that works with some of the camera gear and such.
Yeah, keep the open side up, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Will you be shooting any video on this journey?
Yeah. We'll be shooting a lot. So last time, one of the things that we wanted to do was put together a documentary, and what we're going to do this time. So, and we shot a lot of footage up there. Tak, our Japanese paddler, was an amazing cinematographer, and so he was shooting video. I was shooting video, and then cell phones today are so good. Some of the if you go to I don't know if you have the YouTube listed down below this, where we have the music video that we did for the last time Yukon Journey. Some of that was taken with a cell phone as well. So you're looking at that, and it's so the amount of camera work in there is pretty varied. But yeah, I'll be doing the same again this time. I'm going to be limiting the amount of cameras I take. Last time I took a really big, heavy, expensive one. And this time I'm not doing that. I've got a couple of small cameras that I'll take. I've got a Samsung S10 Plus, where the video and some of the photography is scary good. Like the images are so clean. So I'll be using that. I'll be using a GoPro for some of the more action and underwater stuff. And then I've got a bridge camera that I'll be taking up that has like a 65 by zoom. And I'll use that for, should I see any wildlife in the distance.
Right.
So yeah, so we'll be taking a lot of videos. When we come back, we'll be putting together videos that will go up on YouTube, and we'll probably end up cutting a documentary at the end as well of some of those, but we'll probably serialize the trip and put that up then when we're back.
Now I've got for anybody that's interested in the chat, I've got down below in the description all the links to like John's social medias and the Outdoor Kind and Yukon Journey, YouTube. Feel free to check it all out, of course. But do you have some place where people could see the videos from the last Yukon Journey? The
only thing that we put up really so far is that music video. Okay. So if you go to I don't know if you have that on there. We can add that later if it's okay with you.
Yeah, actually, I added it right after you sent it.
Oh, good. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so they can go and they can see that and get an idea of what it is. I'm looking at on the side there, somebody asked about taking a drone. I would love to take a drone, but they changed the rules. And so now if you take a drone, Top took one and we just used it for personal stuff because you have to have a pilot's license or certification and insurance now. Yeah. If it has any commercial possibilities whatsoever. So the fact that we're doing this with schools, somebody could look at that and say, oh, well, that's commercial, therefore, so we just don't want to deal with it. So no drone this time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Once again, there, I just noticed in the chat there, some people are noticing that I'm echoing. I apologize. I believe I got a bad connection here going with StreamYard myself. So I apologize. Please bear with it if it's not too bad. Let's see here. We got a question from Ethan over at Avid Outdoorsy Guy. How many hours is your typical travel day on this trip?
It's not too bad, actually, at least at the start, because in the Southern Lakes, it's probably, an 8 to 10 hour day. Just because you're paddling lakes at that point, right? And you're fighting some wind. The next section's a river from there, probably a good, I would say 500-600 100 miles or more, the river moves. So you can actually get in your 50 miles in a day by being out on the water 5-6 hours sometimes. It doesn't take that long on those days. And that's assuming you have good weather, right? Mm-hmm. The weird thing is sometimes like you're up there and you're paddling, right? And you can look at the GPS and the water is going close, 8, 9, 10 miles an hour in some spots. And it feels like you're pulling through molasses. The wind is blowing so hard that, you're just pulling and working and you're just like, how is this possible? It's like, I know this river moves fast, but the winds come up and, so it just varies depending on where you're at. And then when you get into the flats, the water speed drops down to about 1 mile an hour. And then you're dealing with the headwinds. And then your day is, there's some days where you get up and you break camp and you start paddling. And there were days where we finished up around 11, 12 at night. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the day.
Now with the whole drone thing, I know there's a couple drones out there that I've been checking out. I can't think of the name of them right off the top of my head. I think Kelly Camps is in the chat, but she has a drone that is actually it's under the weight restrictions.
Yes.
So you fall under, but I think it's a Mavic.
Yeah, and there's some great, but it's not just the weight restriction. If there's any commercial use, and putting it up with our stuff would be commercial, because otherwise, I would love to have one, right? Because you figure if you're out there solo and you're going to get video, you can run that drone out or follow you or whatever it is, right? And then bring it back. For me to shoot solo video now means I get down to an island, I pull out at the bottom of the island, I set up the camera, I line the canoe, I hike back up to the tip of the island, I hop in it, and then I paddle by the camera while that thing is still running, right? Right. So then you do that to get that shot. And it's not going to be a great shot either, right? And I did that on, what was it, a trip I took up in 2016. And, you just kind of, that water is moving and just kind of blow by there. So I would love to have a drone, but. Right. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Maybe you need a cameraman.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, definitely.
Well, you know what? I see we got a couple of guys in the basement here. We got Steve and Jerry waiting in the basement. Just to let you guys know, I will get you guys up here on panel at about 8 o'clock after I do my swag giveaway. So I do see you there. Thumbs up. Thanks very much. Let's see here. We'll get a couple more questions. Now, this is a question I actually had on my list to ask you.
Okay.
Similar. Is there an app that you can use to know your location? How can people track your journey?
So what we'll do is we have a DeLorme InReach is what we took last time. Garmin bought DeLorme, so I'm actually going to go, because of, again, what we're doing with the school kids, I'm going to go get another one just to have a redundant system. And I'll have a Garmin InReach, and you can run that off of your cell phone too, right? And so that sends tracking. And so we'll have that up on the website. We'll have a link to that. So one of the things that's cool is then people will be able to look at it, and friends and family, right? And that can be a blessing and a curse sometimes too. Right. There was one day where my friend Ray and I had gone up in 2016, and we had a lazy day. And we got up and we were on this beautiful island, and we were just kind of sitting there and drinking coffee and watching the water go. And we didn't start paddling until like 1:30 in the afternoon. And back here at home then, my wife is looking at the tracker going, it's not moving. What's going on? Is everything okay? They haven't moved. There's that kind of thing too. So you kind of got to let everybody know, look, just because it's not moving doesn't mean there's, something wrong. So, but I love them. They're great fun. The Garmin or the DeLorme works so well in that system where you can work it with, it's fantastic.
Right. And now are you doing something with Paddling Adventure? Is my sound okay right now? I switched microphone.
I can hear you well.
Okay. Yeah. No more echo. But are you doing something with Paddling Adventures Radio with their Facebook page or something?
Well, what we're going to do, the main thing we're going to do with Paddling Adventures Radio is what we did before. We did weekly callbacks from the river. And so last time we would get to a river town and then I would call back and we'd set up, and it was so much fun. And so if you go to the yukonjourney.org website, you'll see a section for podcast, and it has all of those. You can go back and listen to, and basically, well, what happened this week? And so, stories about anything from the drunken boater hitting us, hitting the canoe, up to, seeing bears. And so all of that's on there. So we'll be doing that again. But because of what we're going to do with the schools, this time we should be able to call back from basically any rock bar that we're camping on in the Yukon. Mm-hmm. And the ability to do that, and calling in Paddling Adventures Radio is great fun. Those guys are, we had such a good time doing that. So I'm really looking forward to that again. I'm probably even more excited. Sorry, Sean. Sorry, Dirk. About being able to call back into classrooms. And that's a big piece of what we're going to do with the Yukon Journey educational component. So it's going to be really interactive. So I will be able to, they had asked before about the app, that we're using. That Garmin also has an SOS function, super important. But then I'll be able to answer students' questions in real time as we're up there. So, we can, I'm looking forward to this more than you can imagine. I'm a former teacher, so the chance to be able to connect with students on a level like that, and something different in the summer, and something different in a summer school program, right?
That's awesome. You know what? I embrace technology out there. Not so much like to be like you're on your cell phone all the time, but for the communication back and forth, let the family know that you're okay. If you run into an issue, you have that thing, but we're using it for educational purposes, and that's a great reason to have it out there. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. I mean, what you can do is, so just the chance, and the more I talk to different people at different schools, and it's like, oh, well, what else would work? What would be good for you? What can you use? So we'll be sending back, hopefully doing like a photo of the day, and we'll be, when we get to a river town, then calling in or Skyping in to a classroom. So use something like this, right? So if you were to use StreamYard like this, where you could actually have 6 different classrooms in the US and Canada come up, ask a question, answer the questions, and then another one calls in, and go through. And I mean, that would be amazing. I mean, it means me getting up really early in the morning, probably because of the time difference, but beyond that, it'll be amazing.
That's awesome. So I'm going to get in really quick here. We're almost at 8 o'clock. I'm going to get in 2 more quick questions here because I think they're pretty good questions. One's from Bill again here. What kind of permits do you need for the journey?
There's basically no permits required on the river at all, which is another reason that it's so nice, right? You need a permit to go back into Bennett, British Columbia. It's like I think there's a small fee to be back there. Then there's a campsite fee. The rest of the time, I think that's it. There's really nothing you need. And, and I think that's like a $10 fee to go down into Bennett, British Columbia. And that's a Gold Rush historic site. So there's, you can walk around, let's see where the buildings were. There's an old, the old church, I think they've redone that's there. There's, you go down, walk to the water level, and it's all kinds of stuff from the Gold Rush, because that's where they came down and they built the boats there before when the water was, or when the ice was in. And then when ice went out, this flotilla of humanity just went as quick as they could to the Klondike Goldfield. So, right. So that being in that place it's magic.
That's cool. Are you a bit of a historian yourself?
Yeah, I taught history when I was a teacher, and love history, and I love like the history of the common man, and that's who you had up there, right? I mean, the people going up there were people like you and me, and what they experienced, and you can see, like, I can't imagine. So I've talked about this with with my friends John and Susan up there is, you know, you're sitting there on Marsh Lake, and when you see stuff from the gold rush, it's always in black and white, right, or sepia tone, and you kind of have that, and you think it makes it seem very old. Mm-hmm. But as you're sitting there on the water and you're looking out over the lake, you're thinking, that must have been an incredible sight to have all those boats, you know, hundreds of boats, handmade boats going by on the way to the Yukon. You know, incredible. So yeah, so to be able to be there, to be able to share that with people, it's, you know, it's amazing.
Yep. And one more quick question here. It is 8 o'clock, but Mike Burns is asking, going to use a yak paddle in your canoe? Now, this is one that could light a real fire under Mr. Talon's behind, because we know his stand on kayak paddles.
Well, I tell you what, on this one, and I know everybody's going to scream here, I think I may, because of the size of that boat, I think I may be using a yak paddle with it. I'll have both with me for sure. I think the double-bladed paddle may give me a little bit more control. Now, before everybody over on the comments goes like, no, what I'll preface that with by saying I'm a crap canoeist. Okay, I'm crap. Kayaker, I'm all right, but I'm a crap canoeist. So, but I think just because of the size of the boat, I'll probably end up using a yak paddle.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that. Like I say, everybody's got their preference, but you know what? I'd have a single blade as a backup, anyways, right? So
yeah. Well, I took, you know, we had Bending Branches that supported us, you know, on the trip, and I love that canoe paddle that I had up there. It was amazing, and it's beautiful, right? You're looking at it; it's just a gorgeous paddle. But I just think if I'm out there in that 18-foot in winds, I may need something else.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we're going to get into our flag giveaway, and then we're going to invite a couple of panelists up that John mentioned that he'd like to have on, because there's an affiliation there. So I'm going to just drop you into the basement there for a minute, John.
I'll go get some more coffee then.
There you go. Yeah, it gives me a chance to quick pee break or something, right? Then we'll do the quick giveaway, and I'll get our other guests on panel with us, and we'll have a little more fun.
Sounds good. Thanks.
See you in a minute. All right, everybody. So, yeah, great stories here with John, of course. It's great to see. Like I say, if you can, please do try and support his efforts there. It's something that he's doing some really cool stuff. And not only does he get to take on a great adventure, but he's offering to bring us all along on the journey, basically giving you the chance to follow along. But as you know, this is the chance for the part of the show where I like to give away a bit of Canoe Hound swag, given away a lot of these in the past. And tonight I'm going to have a question for you. I've mentioned this, and you probably heard me say this probably about 10 times throughout the live stream tonight with talking with John, and even in the introduction. So I'm going to say, how many days is John at before he touches paddle to water on the Yukon Journey? What's his countdown at? And I've got a few numbers written down here, so go ahead and put it in the chat. How many days does he have until he actually starts his Yukon Journey? We're going to have two winners tonight. The answer is not 87. Nope, no 22. Nope, not 67 either. Okay, I see the first one that's coming in. Okay, we got it, people. We got our two winners. We've got Jenica Grimshaw. The answer is 89 days and counting. So he's under that 90-day mark. And also Brendan Cosman. So we got Jenica and we got Brendan. If you guys can drop me an email with your full mailing address, and as it would go on to an envelope, and I will send you guys out a Canoe Hound Adventures and Canoe Hound's Outdoor Adventure Show swag package. And if you get the opportunity, please do take a picture after you've stuck it on something. And I'd love to see a picture of that using the hashtag Keep the Adventures Alive. So if the two of you can actually send that out to me as soon as possible, I will get them back out to you as soon as possible as well. So yes, 89 days. So we'll move on here with the show. John had asked that he gave me a few names of people that are involved with him throughout this whole thing, and people that support him quite well. I'll bring John back up here on panel now. Welcome back, my friend.
Hello, I'm here.
There we go. So we got our winners. That we had all kinds of numbers on there for your journey: 23s, 22s. So a whole bunch of stuff there. Anyways, first person we're going to bring up on panel tonight is somebody that's going to be a guest on the show here, actually on the, I believe, 7th of April, and that would be Mr. Jerry Vanderveer, singer-songwriter. How you doing tonight, Jerry? Can you hear me, sir? We're not hearing you, Jerry. You got your microphone turned on? I think Jerry's experienced a little technical difficulty. And the next person we're going to bring up too, we'll let Jerry work out his bugs there, is Steve Cooner. Is that hopefully pronounced properly?
Good. Yeah.
And he's the sales manager at Novacraft Canoe, who is so generously helped John along the journey with the Yukon Journey with a nice canoe.
John's done a good job. Yeah.
It's awesome. Jerry, can you hear us? We'll let Jerry work out his bugs there. If you can hear us, Jerry, give us a wave. Anyways, so Steve, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. I've been with Novacraft. This will be 8 years now. I started there actually working out in the plant, kind of learning all the aspects of the company and how to build canoes, how to ship them, all the different materials. And then about 3.5 years ago, I was talking to Tim Miller, who was the previous owner, and we had kind of mentioned about possibly getting someone out on the road, knocking on some doors, because we were doing all these long runs with a trailer, but no one was going in between and saying hello. So that's kind of where I've been positioned, and it's been working really well. I met people like John, and I've become a good friend with Kevin and Jim Baird and Eric Elsey. You'll see him. He's going to be at the show at Canoeopia this weekend. So we do have a new owner. Chris Rath took it over last February, and he's done an amazing job. He's one of the team. He's one of the guys. He likes to get out there. John's met him a few times. We're going to a thing, I believe it in Kitchener in April. John had mentioned it, so I think we're going to go down for the symposium there. This weekend is Canoeopia up in Madison, Wisconsin, so we're leaving Thursday morning for that. And that show will be Friday right through till Sunday evening. It's the biggest canoe event in the world for you to view canoes that are there. Every manufacturer should be there, and I'm looking forward to that this weekend. And then again, I see John quite a bit. I met him 2 years ago, I believe it was, when he first reached out and questioned us about possibly getting involved with him on his trek there. So he came and picked up his white canoe. I'll never forget that day, and he was pretty happy with that. Yeah, he's grinning there right now. So it's been a good experience. It's a job I enjoy doing. It's nice to get out there and meet people. I'm seeing people from all over the country, and we also deal overseas too. So talking to different folks every day, so it makes the job interesting and never a dull moment.
For sure. So will you be at Canoeopia yourself?
Yes. Yeah. I'll be driving one of the trailers. We take a big trailer, and then there's another truck. We were actually starting to load it up today. So there's about 20 canoes we'll be taking up there. We're going to be showing off our blue steel, which is trimmed in ash. If you've seen the Jim Baird video, you'll see it on there. And it's going to be highlighted right as you walk in the booth. And then we also have a new orange 3-layer plastic canoe. So it's pretty slick. We just brought that out kind of last fall, but it's really taken off this year.
Sorry, I'm shaking my head no, because this is going to be dangerous. I've already
your checkbook.
Canoe in my arsenal, and it's like, oh my gosh, all these new ones coming out now, right? So,
well, I got extra spot on the trailer.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm closer to you than I am to Canoeopia, so I'm in Southern Ontario. So yeah, I could just make the trek up. You guys are in London, are you not located?
Sure, come on down. The plant's always open. If someone wants to drop in and have a tour, I would
love to do that. Get that on video here. So, what's the affiliation with John then? How are you two working together?
Like I say, John approached me a couple years ago, and since then we've just become friends. I don't see him as often as we both like. Last year he came down and he did a show right at NovaCraft. I was out of the country at the time.
Yeah, tell him where you were, Steve, by the way.
Well, I was south of here.
He was on a beach someplace. Let's just point that out. He was on a beach somewhere
with no mosquitoes.
Yeah.
But anyways, we've become friends, and I always seem to see I saw him at Canoe last year, so we got to talk, and he just stays in touch. He's been a really good spokesman for us, and I just enjoy working with John. He actually, I got involved with him. We did a thing with the Syrian refugees about 3.5 years ago, and that was right here in London. We had some refugees that had landed, and a lot of the people in the city were trying to reach out and help. So we decided to have a free paddle day where we took the canoes out to a lake close by, and then they were all allowed to go out. Most of them have never been in a canoe in their life. So it was interesting, but also opened my eyes up to some of these unfortunate people that are torn out of their country here and they're thrown over here and they didn't have anything. So it was a nice day for them, just took their mind off of their current situation. And then John had told me a story that he taught his class one day about I don't know exactly how the story went, but basically he told all the kids, here's a list of everything you love, and slowly take things away. And maybe I'll let John finish that story because it is his story to begin with, but it resonated, and I've never really forgot that. I've told that to many people. So, but yeah, it's just NovaCraft. We try to give back if we can on situations. There's always fundraisers and whatnot. We're glad to go and see what's going on out there. And yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let John finish that story one second. Jerry, can you hear us now? I think Jerry's really experiencing some technical difficulties there. We'll let him work the bugs out. If you can hear us, Jerry, just say hi or wave or something. Apologize for that, everybody. Okay, so you can finish the story there, John.
Well, it was a thing that we did right before American Thanksgiving, right before the break, and that day before a break, anyways, right? The kids' minds are elsewhere, and so I had them do this thing where I said, look, I just want to do a thing about stuff, right? And sold it to them on the stuff. And what we did is we gave them a list of, I said, make a list of the 10 most important things to you in the whole world. So if it is, if it's your music player, if it is your Xbox, if it's your parents, if it's your dog, right? Whatever it was, list all those things out. And so they think they're looking at it as things and people. And what I said is, okay, I want you to cross it out.
Can you hear me?
When you cross it out, we got you, Jerry.
Doing an audio test now.
We hear you.
There we go. We can hear you.
Can
you hear us?
I'm just getting a black screen with 4 names on it, including my own.
Well, we can see and hear you now. Can you hear us?
No, I don't think he's hearing us. There's something going on with his end there.
Okay.
Hello. Test. This sounds like a mic check on stage. Test 1, 2.
Can you hear us, Jerry?
I'm just chatting him. So you can finish your story there, John.
I know my camera's working because you guys can see me.
So what we did then is we had this.
Okay, that's good news. But
we had
unmuted your mic. Okay, that helps. Maybe you
Hopefully
can see me and you can hear me, but I can't see or hear any of you guys. Maybe that's a good thing.
Carry on, John. I'm just going to mute it.
It's dark and silent here in Nashville.
So what I did then is I told them, you got to remove one thing and you'll never see that thing or that person ever again. And so, it's a list of 10 things. Most people can cross off one. I said, okay, do another. And they cross off another and another. And then it starts getting tough. And like kids that have big families, it was like, then it was really hard. So they're going through and now they're crossing off people that mean a lot to them, right? And you get to about the halfway point and or a little below, and people are like, I can't go anymore. It's like I can't give up, these people or my dog or whatever it may have been, right? And so you go all the way down you'll get down to toward the end, and at this point now the class is like, no, we can't do this. This is too much. And at that point, then you stop the lesson and you say, you know what? You've just done what a lot of refugees have to do, where you leave your home country, you leave your surroundings that you love, the people you love, the things that you have and that you enjoy. And now you have to give all of that up. And on the day before Thanksgiving, man, you watch some of the kids and it's just like, wow. And it was a powerful lesson as you would go through. And I was always struck by the students, because a lot of times students will be like, no, okay, well, I don't want to, but I'll go ahead and I'll do it. And they'd just be like, no, man, I can't do it anymore. No, I can't, and it was their family and their loved ones. And it was a cool thing to see, so, and you can tell the teacher piece in me is still strong, and the Yukon Journey educational piece this year is going to be, it's going to be pretty great. So,
yeah. I see you had a costume change there.
Got my Yukon Journey shirt on, and my Stormy Cromer, had to have my Stormy Cromer on.
Yep.
So, yep. Michigan, Wisconsin company. So, got to represent.
Yeah. So, Steve, I have a question for you with
Sure.
Novacraft. What's coming down the pipe? You say there's a couple new canoes out. What's any?
Yeah, well, our biggest news this year is this will be 50 years for us in 2020. So you guys just had a quiz.
Hey, I've seen my image now.
Yeah, there's
I don't hear anybody else, or I don't see anybody
there's
else.
the logo right there.
Yep.
So this will be a trick question. The first person with the right answer will win one of these mugs. What year did Novacraft start?
There we go. There we go. Got that, people? Let's see here.
There we go.
What year did they start?
Kevin Callan should be right on that.
Still not
should
getting
be.
any audio
He's watching.
Can you hear us,
or
Jared?
video. Just video of me.
Just video? Turn your volume up? Nope. We got Daniel Mailot saying 1998. We got 1989. 50th anniversary, people.
There's someone right there. Got it.
1970.
70, yes.
Here we go.
That's
There was the
Bill.
answer, 1970.
So how would you like Bill to contact you?
I'll give you my email after this. It's just
Okay.
sales@novacraft.com.
Okay. Or he could even email me and I could forward it on to you.
That would be perfect. Yeah. So
There you go.
congratulations
So
to
if you wanna drop me your full mailing address and I'll pass it on to Steve. I'll
Sure.
put my link here on. There we go. We'll put that up there again. So I'm not sure how Jerry's making out there. I don't think he's having some real technicals right now.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
unfortunately.
Let's see
For
here.
anybody that's going to Canoecopia, by the way, Jerry's going to be down there this next week. So if you're going to Canoecopia, be sure you check him out. I think he's got at least 3 different performances if you go to the website. He also has I'm going to give him a plug here because the CD is great. And he's got a new CD out. It's phenomenal. He even mentions Carlos Santana on it, who's one of my favorite guitar players too. So, gotta love that. But yeah, see, if you're down there, see Jerry. We may not get lucky tonight and be able to talk with him, but by all means, check him out at Canoecopia.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's having problems because he's on safari. That's why.
Yeah.
I got a great great comment from Brad over at Explore the Backcountry. I think Jerry's mic one too many Kevin Callan.
No question about that.
I'm not sure if everybody knows about that. But,
But my mic is fine. You guys can hear me. I can't hear you.
Oh, you can hear us. Okay. Or you can't hear us. Best thing for him to do is put it on the YouTube feed. That'd be the best thing. Anyways. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm all over the place here. I'm lost now. Dennis has lost control of the live stream. That's all right. You know what we didn't talk about, John, was a little bit about your oh shit kit.
Yeah.
I'm talking to StreamYard support right now.
Okay.
We'll see what they come up with.
Awesome. Give me a thumbs up if you know what's going on. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, no problem. So if you go to the Outdoor Kinds website and scroll down, we have a PDF of the contents of what we call the Oh Shit Emergency Kit. And it's things that we suggest is for people who are going out, things that you may want to take with you in case you have a problem and need, and will help you get back off the water or out of the woods or wherever you are. Because, you can do it, you can modify the kit, and you should modify the kit to whatever your activity is, right? I'll take a different kit out for when I'm canoeing versus when I'm hiking. So you look at that and say, okay, well, what's the weight ratio and what's the benefit, that kind of thing. With the canoe, it's awesome because I can put anything in there that I really want. You're not counting anything out or watching grams. Whereas when you're, backpacking, you take it a little tighter. So we have this list up, and it's really a group of things that you can put together to make sure that you're safe and that you're able to make repairs on the water, for example. And so, the all-time great number one item, right? Duct tape. Yeah, I watch people fix boats with duct tape. I watched one after that, what was it? The derecho hit up in, where was it? Lake Huron in, I want to say 2006, 2007. These people were at a portage and a boulder rolled down, like a tree fell, uprooted a bunch of earth, and a boulder rolled down and hit their canoe at one of the portages. And they took duct tape and they wrapped it up and they took everything, and it was great. So, if the canoe's sitting like this, right, they loaded it sideways so that all the weight was like this, so that the exposed hole was up here, and they paddled it back down to the campsite,
No kidding.
and just with duct tape alone. So, it's great.
Okay, guys, I'm on, hope I'm not interrupting a important conversation, but I'm on, in contact with tech support here for StreamYard, and they just said, ask if they see you in the main screen or just in a little box in the bottom left of the studio. So can you see me in the main screen?
We could see you on the main screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll have to chat on that because you can't hear us.
And I have no way of seeing. You're going to have to post it on the main screen or something like you did with the joke with the Kevin Kellen mic overload. Because in tech support, I'm not getting it's covering up our chat.
I just saw Lee Hunter's comment, the new blue steel bandana. Nice. Nicely done, Lee. Yeah, so while you're working with him, I guess I'll just talk a little bit more about the emergency kit. There's certain things that you can take out. There's something called Lexel, Lexel. It's a waterproof sealant. It's like silicone seal, but it works, and it will work underwater. It will apply when wet, and that's really great too, in particular like for kayaks and such. So I look at those things. I look at mechanical things. I look at things that might be, I break it out into categories for the kit. So if you download the document, you'll see I've got holding it together. So that's things like duct tape and rope and zip ties. And then staying alive, things that you like emergency blankets or water purification tablets. I've got mechanical communications.
Bottom left of the studio.
So that's important if you're not able to, let's say electronic communications fail you, and there's a lot of reasons that they can, right? Mm-hmm. Mechanical communications and things that you can write with, you can leave messages with, and then just odds and ends, and those kinds of things are really important. The other thing I recommend a lot, and particularly for people in, there's two options here. One of the things we always talk about with the Outdoor Kind is wildfire prevention. And so we recommend that you take out, if you're in a canoe.
So wait. My mic is now unmuted. So the question is, can you see me in the?
No.
No.
Okay, we'll keep going here then. we suggest taking out like a 5-gallon plastic bucket. So you go to, Canadian Tire, or you go to, in the States, a hardware store, right? And you get that white plastic bucket and use that, throw gear in it when you go out there. But when you get to your campsite, take the gear out, fill it. You've got 5 gallons of water if you have a problem, right? And you have that sitting right next to your fire. If that thing gets out of the pit, the fire pit or whatever, you got it squared away. And so that's important. If you are in a kayak or on an SUP and you want to take something, Sea to Summit makes something called a kitchen sink. And I've been taking these with me for years. And it is like a nylon sill, super lightweight, foldable, packable bag. So what you do is you get down to the water, you pull it up, and then you go ahead and you can use that. And again, you've got like 5 gallons, I think it's 20 liters on that one, that you've got right next to your fire. So if you have a problem, it's there and you're good to go. And just those little things, right? That's either one of those. They're inexpensive, it's easy, but when you look at how devastating fires can be, you've got something there and it's safe. And we can't stress that one enough.
Yeah. So everybody should actually put together their own. You know what? Building your own shit kit could actually start early in the season, right? Like you could have something that start with something and then you add to, or you track based on your needs for a trip, right? Yeah.
And what's cool is every time, so we'll do this presentation too. So I'll go out and I'll do a presentation just on this alone. And the thing with this is like, we'll get out there and we'll make a lot of jokes and screw around with it, because you can read a bunch of books about safety, right? And maybe they're good, and maybe they're not, or maybe they're boring. So you get out there, have fun with people, talk about these things, and it's something really simple where every time I've given this presentation, somebody said, "Hey, have you tried this yet?" It's like, oh, that's a good idea. And so this community keeps adding to it. And so we go in and we change this. And so the presentation that I'll give now is different than the one I gave 3 years ago, for example, when we started doing this.
Yeah. Now, you know what? Fanny packs, in style or out of style when you're canoeing?
You know what? Oh, as someone who still has one and still uses it for a small stove.
Yeah.
But you can throw it in anything, right? So what I'll talk about to people is take like an old Nalgene, an old water bottle. You can stuff things in there and they'll stay dry. If you're an ultralight hiker, and I know that's different than our audience here, but if you're an ultralight hiker, Ziplocs or in some of those large prescription pill boxes, right? It's amazing what you can put in there if you really think through, what do I really need? What's likely to happen? And how many things, duct tape, my friend Mark Johnson and I, when we were up on the Yukon the first time together, he was bandaging up his hands with duct tape because it's a kind of a harsh environment. So yeah, you find the things that work, and you find things that work in several different ways too, right? And then you have to carry less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Steve, did you see the question I flashed up there? Is Tim going to Canoecopia as well?
I don't believe Tim is going. No.
No,
I haven't heard from him. I think he could be away on holidays right now. Tim is actually totally enjoying retirement. He's very relaxed, very happy. Saw him about a month ago, and just, he's well-deserved retirement for Tim.
Yeah, so. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's going to be around. We're going to be celebrating the 50 years, doing some things in the summer, so we'll keep you posted on that. Some of the new stuff I noticed on the comments were the blue steel. We saw a blue steel bandana come up, and that's been a big seller for us this year, is the blue steel. A lot of them are trimming it in ash now. It's our higher end carbon fiber canoe. There's a Jim Baird video. If you Google Jim Baird blue steel, you'll see it. It'll pop up on there, and it's just Jim out having some fun in our canoe there. And then we have a couple other models. The Trapper, which is our 12-foot solo, has been selling very well. We'll have all the models be at the show this weekend, and then We've also got our new catalog, which just arrived. We still try to bring out an actual catalog that people can look at nowadays. It's hard to find anymore nowadays to get an actual catalog, but we've pieced it together, and Sarah at the office pretty well put the whole thing together. She did a great job, and it looks great. So if anybody needs the catalog, fire off an email to us, and we'll be glad to send you one in the mail, or just go to local dealers. We've got dealers popping up all over the country now, so it's been busy for us, very busy.
Can I break in here for a second, Steve?
Sure. Yeah.
You had mentioned before about going in and taking a tour.
Mm-hmm.
And so for anybody that's up there, up in the London area, I would say by all means stop in. I did. Steve took me out and showed me the facilities. And then the last time I was up there, the new owner Chris and I had walked around, and we talked about a lot of different stuff. And but to see how those are made, and what was really cool was the gent that worked on that 18-foot Prospector, because it's such a unique boat, and that beautiful white one. He remembered when that one came through that he had worked on it, which is kind of cool to talk to somebody, see the people actually making your boat. But to go up there and to see the facilities and everybody up there was really cool. So it's kind of a fun thing to do if you get the time.
I may just do that. I might give you a call, Steve, and pop up one day, Steve.
Please do. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Always call ahead so we know someone's there to give you a proper tour and
surprise.
Surprise. Yeah. 7 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
That's all right. We don't mind.
Let's see here. We still got Jerry with us. Can you hear us now, Jerry? Nope. He's out. Oh, okay. So, jeez. So what's with Novacraft canoes? What's the more popular canoes that are you can't keep up with these days?
Well, our Prospector series has always been popular, like 15, 16, 17, and an 18. Like John was saying there a few minutes ago. This time of year, yes, they're just make as many as we can because they just seem to. No one's in a hurry for them in October, and all of a sudden March hits and the phone's ringing off the wall. Everybody needs their canoe for this weekend. So we try to keep up with it the best that we can. The solo canoes are becoming very popular. The Trapper, we also have a 14-foot Fox, which came out. I think Kevin has one of those, Kevin Callan. And then the Bob Special is also another big one. The Pal is a big one with us. Our 3-layer polys, which I'd mentioned earlier before, they're heavier, but for outfitters, those are the canoes that they seem to want to go to. Price point and just the durability on them. But and our Tough Stuff material, that's the material we've had out for about 5 years now. That's a makeup of basalt and an aggregate, the two materials, and a vinyl ester resin. It's an infused canoe, so it comes. That's what John's canoe, I believe, was made of, or Tough Stuff Expedition, maybe one more layer. But it's proven well for him. He's pretty well put it through everything, and he's still smiling and he's floating. So it works out well. But yeah, we're always trying to come out with something new. This year, it's more or less been some new colors that came out. Different styles of color or different types of colors. The orange on the plastic boats. We also have a blue and a yellow, which is something new. It's just looks different out there on the water than the old red and green. Red and green are still probably our most popular colors. And then the blue steel. And then we also have a Kevlar boat, which we call Aramid Light. The Trapper is about 29 pounds in the Kevlar. So it does get the weight down quite a ways. And if someone wants to throw a small canoe on their truck or car or whatever to go fishing, it's quite doable. So even at fiberglass, it's 45 pounds. So it's a nice little canoe, but we try to have a little bit of everything, right from the small canoe right up to the 18-footer. And I've got people that will order 4 seats and an 18-footer. And I actually quoted one last year for a 5-seater for a big camp. But because we see all kinds of different configurations and whatnot, we do try to customize canoes. If someone says, I want my thwart moved because I'm putting a bag here, a jug or whatever it is you want to, sometimes they have a big dog. So we'll have to customize that. And the guys in the shop, John's been out there, they enjoy that when there's something different come out. It just makes their day a little bit different when they have a customized canoe, because it's just, you're so used to seeing the same measurements night and day, and all of a sudden there's a new challenge there. But yeah, so we welcome different styles or options, just throw it at us and we'll see what we can do for you.
So the new Tough Stuff material that you've had over 5 years, is that the replacement for the Royal Light and Royal X?
Yeah, what we did actually, Tim started that back 5, 6, 7 years ago when everyone knew Royal X was basically being taken away. So everybody was scrambling to try to come up with something different. And there was a few different things we tried in the shop. And finally, that seemed to be about the best fit. And it has worked really good. I remember the first day, it was a white canoe similar to John's, and it had just been trimmed. And I had actually trimmed that. And I was out around the corner about an hour later, actually eating lunch, and I could hear a smashing in the shop, and I didn't know what the noise was. And it was Tim hitting it with a hammer, and that's what started then he's got the bigger hammer out, and then it just progressed to that video with the hammer, and then also the building drop. But we try not to recommend that at home by any means, because people will try. But it's been tested, and it's worked very well for us. It's a good canoe. It's lightweight, it's durable, and we just keep pumping them out as fast as they can make them out back. We seem to be able to get them on the trailer and out to customers. So we try to, if we set a delivery date, we try to stick to that date, because we know how urgently some of these people want a canoe. We know if you order a canoe for June the 15th, it means you're probably going away on holiday on the 18th. So you definitely want it for that date. So we try our darndest to keep up to that.
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Looking forward to it. And the one you're getting, John, is what? Which one again?
I've got an 18-foot Prospector and Tough Stuff Expedition layup.
Right.
And so we had that thing, so you've got a group of, I think, 4 to 5 people, rotating 4 to 5 people, a couple of kayaks, and you can put some of the gear in the kayaks, but not as much, right? But then you've got all of the video gear, all of the stuff for the documentary that we were working on, and you've got 2 of everything because you need redundant systems, right? And so all of that stuff and all of that gear was in there. And there's one of the things about the Yukon is visually it's a tricky river. And I guess there are times when you're looking at something and you'll be looking over at somebody that you're paddling next to, and you see an eddy in between you going the other way. And you're like, I didn't see anything there to cause that eddy. Or all of a sudden you're looking at their boils come up, and then you've got a rock section that you couldn't see. And so we have this thing overloaded, right? We had so much gear in there, and then you plow into one of those rock sections that it just wasn't there. We had logs roll up on us out in the flats. And man, it handled it really well. And especially the weight in it at the time, right? Because you think, okay, well, I can just float up. I'm up on rocks. Okay, no problem. The weight we had in there, it did a great job. Yeah, we were really happy with it, Steve.
Yeah. And how's yours being outfitted? Is there any special?
Well, this is actually sitting in my garage right now. It's waiting to go back up, and it is that Tough Stuff Expedition. This is the one that they took and they threw off of the roof of the factory.
In that video.
and photographed, right, Steve? That was the Tough Stuff that you did that with.
That was Tough Stuff, yes.
Yeah. So so it holds up. I can assure you.
And I seen Tim's video with him whacking that thing with the hammer too.
Right.
So it's got to be some tough stuff, right?
I had someone that someone asked, I don't know how to answer these on the side, but it was, what is the weight of that 12-foot? That would be our 12-foot or the trapper. Yeah. So if it was in Aramid Light, which is our Kevlar, it's around 29 pounds. And the heaviest that boat would be is a fiberglass, which would be about 45 pounds. I'm going off the top of my head right now, but I'm pretty sure those are pretty well dead on. And then in that blue steel, it's about 32 pounds. So there's a couple different options there on that.
That weight on that blue steel is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a stiff boat, but it handles beautifully. And again, if you go online and just look at some of the pictures of it, the videos, and Jim's pretty excited when he unsheaths that thing out of the plastic when it's dropped off. It's worthwhile just seeing his reaction when he gets it.
Yeah.
Now, John, the one thing that we didn't get the opportunity also earlier to talk about was some of your sponsors for this whole journey. Talk about some of your sponsors, because obviously they deserve their moment.
Well, and again, we thank Steve and Novacraft. We had some great sponsors. I mean, I mentioned Bending Branches for paddles. Northwater had outfitted us with a spray deck, which was amazing. That thing is bomb proof. Malone had given us a trailer. So because again, the road trip on this, I mean, getting up there is it's an adventure on its own. And so we had that up there. We had, if anybody, and I mentioned you before, if you're even thinking about doing this and you want to go up there, there's Rivers North Publications. They make the best charts of the Yukon River you'll ever find. They have campsites marked. They have high water campsites marked, low water campsites marked, and they go from basically from Marsh Lake just outside of Whitehorse up to, I think it's Eagle, Alaska. Now, when we got from Eagle, Alaska to go out, we ended up using Google Earth, and we printed out satellite images and bound those. 10 miles to a page is a pretty good standard for people, because if you can look at them really close, you'll see, like, you'll look at the head of an island, and if you can see a little bit of tan there, it probably means it's a beach or rocks, and you know that you can probably camp there. I mean, that's things like that. But those publications will add so much. Rivers North Publications will add so much to it. We had so many people that helped us out on this. It's hard to, if you go to our website, we've listed them all. That so many people that helped us that we're going to do. And that was when we were really working with first responders. We'll still be talking about first responders, the need for them. In the States in particular, it's really tough these days to fill up some of these rural volunteer fire departments. I'm not sure how it is in Canada right now. I'm going to do some research before I leave. But one of the things we will be talking about on the journey this year is how do we get people into those positions? Mm-hmm. Because what happens when they leave? If you're up in the north, in the far north, and you don't catch a fire, within the first 12 to 36, you got a big problem. And so we want to talk about that. We'll be looking at some of the stuff out in the villages. Yeah, I mean, there are so many people that helped us, so we're appreciative of that. We're appreciative of those that will be helping us again, and we can't say thanks enough.
That's awesome. Now, were you in a situation where you were approached doing this journey by sponsors, or did you have to go and?
No, actually, this was one of the things when I started putting this together. A lot of people didn't know who we were, and we wanted to do something different. And so Novacraft was in just like immediately. And so I can't say thanks enough to Steve and to Tim and now Chris and a lot of other companies. We wrote them and said, hey, this is what we're doing. Would you like to be involved? And so we got some amazing companies to work with, right? That gear out there, because you need good gear out there. It's not like, oh, I want to get a bunch of free stuff, right? Because when you're up in the two of the members of the trip this last time got hypothermia. It's not messing around up there. It's not Disneyland, right? So you need good gear. You need to be able to rely on that canoe. You need to know that your paddles are good paddles. And so we are very appreciative to our sponsors for what they did for us.
That's awesome. Mm. Jerry, can you hear us now?
Oh, bummer.
I don't think Jerry can hear us now.
Yeah. That's
okay. Yeah. So I'm just we've got room up on the chat here or on the panel for probably 2 more people if somebody would like to join us. I'm going to drop the link onto the StreamYard here, and if anybody wants to join in, if you have a question for John or Steve, please do jump on, and we'll try and get a couple people up. So if you come in with a question, then we'll get you off and somebody new in if somebody else comes up. So let's see here. Sorry, Dennis is struggling right now. Technical difficulties like crazy tonight. Lots of fun. So if anybody would like to join in on the chat or on the panel, come on up. Love to have you in. Any questions here?
I'm looking down the chat side over here, and I see Lee Hunter talking about Royal X with cheese. Nice call out to Pulp Fiction there, Lee.
I can tell you, I have a Royal Light 16-foot Prospector, and I've had that for probably 8-9 years now. And it's for my tandem paddle trips. It's by far my favorite canoe. It's the thing takes a beating. What actually happened with that whole Royal Light, Royal X type of thing?
Well, it was actually, I believe it was Uniroyal that actually had the rights to it to begin with. And then basically, I don't think they were selling enough sheets. They're such a big company. It was, and the Royal X was just a small division of their whole company. So they decided to move that, probably just dismantle that part of the building and move on with something else. And then it just kind of disappeared. And it's actually worked out well for us. It's actually worked out really well with what we've come up with to replace it. The tough stuff comes out nice and shiny looking. And it's been a good fit for everybody, and our customers seem to be enjoying it too. So,
is it something you're producing yourself?
No,
or no?
No, we would buy the material, but then it's just the way it's laid up. Everybody has their own unique way of laying up a canoe. So those are trade secrets unless you come in for the tour. I had to drive John through the Bat Cave to get there. But,
yeah, you'll see me at some point this summer.
Oh yeah, hop in. Like I say, it's open for anybody when they want to come in. So
yeah.
Oh, we got another
Wisconsinite here. This is Sty from the channel Sty North. I'm sure many of you know him. How you doing, Sty?
Good to see and meet all you guys.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Steve, I got a quick question for you. You might be able to answer.
I will try.
I've been looking at Novacraft because I really want to get my hands on a 12-footer. Okay. Now, Marine General's the closest place here up in northern Wisconsin I can even get Novacraft. Now, and I haven't asked them because I haven't been up there now for several months. But now your distributors, because there's a couple up in Grand Marais too.
Right.
But through the distributor, can they order anything that you develop through your company?
Yes, you were just talking Marine General. That's Russ up there. Russ is the owner, and actually, I was just talking to him a couple of weeks ago because he'll be getting some more canoes. He has some of our canoes now. They are a dealer up there in Duluth now, but he was talking more of the high end canoes. So probably get in touch with them more after.
Just wondering because I know typically the dealers they like to order what they think is going to move.
Right.
Yes. But could a customer go in there and say, like I could at an auto dealer and say,
"Oh yeah,
well, I love what you got, but I want this one."
Correct. Because usually what happens if they stock a red, you want a blue. If they stock a yellow, you want a green. So it happens all the time. So just basically tell the dealer, and then they'll get in touch with us, and we'll say, okay, this is how long it would be till we get up there. Biggest thing up your way is delivery, but I think I was up that way maybe 3 times last year. So. Yeah. The more we get up there, the more we go up there. So,
right.
But yeah, no, I'd love to get one up to you there, Sty, if you want.
Yeah. See, for myself, I've got a lot going on this year, but 2021, I'm retired and I want to spend all my time outdoors if I can. And so in 2021, I've got a nice pickup truck, and I got this awesome utility trailer that's being converted into a rolling home, basically, that I can drag into the woods wherever I want, basically off-road at times. But I want to hit the road, and I'm going to live on the road for my retirement. But I don't want to leave my neck of the woods to be traveling around the country without a canoe on my roof. So I've got a sit-on kayak that rides in a cradle inside my camper, but I got room on the roof of my truck for a 12-footer. So I want to get myself a 12-footer. And you're at the materials you're talking about that those 12-footers are made in. Really, really, that's where when I've been watching your .com site. Yeah, you guys basically sold me because, you know, I'd love to be a serious canoer, but I do a lot of hiking and camping and other general things. So canoeing is probably 30% of my activities. Nice. And a 12-footer for me, because it's going to be pretty much so flat water and deep river water, nothing fast, nothing very rocky or rugged, you know. So that 12-footer for a solo, yeah, I think it'll do the trick for me. So
it'd be perfect. It's nice, very nice and stable canoe. You'd like it.
Yeah, that's one thing I like too, is it's got a really good beam on it, so it looks like it'd be a good stable ride. So
well, call Marine General, or even up your way. There's Rutabaga and there's Cycle Path and Paddle. There's a couple of different dealers, and then the ones up in Grand Marais, there, Stone Harbor and Bear Lodge, I believe it is up there. So
yeah, Marine General's only maybe about a 45 to 50 minute drive from me.
Okay, well, I plan on going up there the end of May with canoes for them, so
you
could probably have.
Well, good. That means they're an active dealer. I don't have to worry about them saying, "No, we don't carry them."
No,
put your order in now, Sty.
Yeah,
you get the order in now.
Give Russ a call there. Russ is the guy you want to talk to.
Speaking of canoes, I just want to point this out. Over on the side, the chat over there. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
I just want to point this out. Over on the side, the chat.
Somebody got to turn off their YouTube volume.
There he is.
So I was just about to point this out, and Kevin magically appeared. If you look over on the chat, I want this to be on record. Kevin said, "Hey Steve, should John borrow one of my solo Novacraft canoes so he doesn't have to double blade that 18-footer?" Oh, Kevin, are you offering me a canoe for the Yukon?
Wait a minute. I've got myself into mischief before when I've offered a canoe to be borrowed. For example. Yes. Well, actually, good point. The 18-foot canoe, lots of storage, but double blading that beast. Yeah, and actually on that trip, I'm not knocking the double blade. Just making a note. But yeah, like if you're going solo, you might want a smaller boat. I don't know.
I'm thinking that question to me sounds like an offer. So I'm happy to take one of your boats up there with me.
Really? Steve, well, actually, the Fox
Hey,
wouldn't
Gracie.
put them on that big water, though, right?
Is there any way I can find out if I'm behind a firewall?
Oh, that's just Jerry trying to find out if he's stuck behind a firewall.
I thought you were throwing your voice, Kevin.
All right.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I can't sound like Jerry. He's better than I could ever imagine.
He can pitch the BS. He just can't throw his voice.
Here's the thing, though, Jerry. Like, really, like, we can hear you. You probably won't see us or hear us, but we can hear you. I really think you should sing a song for John to give him inspiration for this big trip he's going on.
More Than a River is like one of my all-time favorite songs.
He can't hear us, though, can he?
I'm just I'm going to chat it over to him.
Well, tell him if he wants to. More Than a River. I've listened to that literally hundreds of times, maybe more, because we have that playing in the booth at the shows. I love it as much as the first time I've heard it. It's just an amazing song. It is the paddler's song.
And
he's got a lot of great songs, but that one.
No, it's good. And Dennis, like once Jerry gets his whole thing, you should have him as a guest, and we'll have him on like for 4 hours just singing nonstop.
Yeah.
Then we'll record it all and then sell his stuff bootleg.
There you go. Oh, like can we tell that story, John?
What's that?
Can we tell that story about the outdoor kind swag counterfeit?
Oh, you mean the people that are ripping us off?
Yeah.
Yes, there's some. So if anybody, and I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch, okay? If anybody does want outdoor kind stuff, go to the Outdoor Kind website only, and that will take you to a link to our pages or to our Amazon account, because there's a company that is ripping our stuff off. So they're taking all our designs and selling them. So we'd appreciate if you do that. The only other company that does anything with us, Man Camping up in .ca up in Canada, is going to be putting up some of our stickers and other stuff up there that you can order, and we'll do the fulfillment from here. So we really appreciate Scott Robinson helping us out there. He's been a real strong supporter for us. But yeah, we are, unfortunately in the digital age, it's a little too easy sometimes to do those things, right?
Yep. So if you're going to buy any of that Outdoor Kind swag, make sure you get it right from the original source, not from the bootleggers, because then the cause sees absolutely nothing from what they're selling. Yeah,
and that's the thing, right? It's like you're not just ripping us off; you're ripping off first responders down the road. Or
okay, I found out how to do that, and I'm firewalls off.
Hopefully, he's up there. Jerry, can you hear us? Still can't hear us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send him a private message to see if he can do something here.
I've been chatting back and forth with him through the private chat on the thing here. So
yeah, okay.
He's just trying to work it out with StreamYard right now. So why don't you play us your harmonica solo, Kevin?
No, I suck. No. No. I've been practicing so much for Canoeopia, but Jerry's right. It'd be funnier if I was really bad at it. So, the funny thing is I was a drummer, so I know how to drum, and yet he's never asked me to do that. He's asked me to do cowbell, dress as a bear, bear polka, have a woman undress my PFD, had my daughter sing and songwrite with him, endless things, throw rocks at young kids in the audience with helmets on, and yet, and this year he's got me playing harmonica, which I thought was easy. It's not. I in December I went to buy one, and I found out that the song that he actually has me playing is not a cheap harmonica. It's got to be like it's like $60 harmonica. I went, what? I'm only on the stage with this man for 2 minutes. I'll never play this thing again, right? And the guy goes, "Are you the happy camper?" I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I heard about that." And he gave me a 50% deal. And then he suggested I take lessons. So his associate at the music store gives me lessons. At the end of it, he gives me a deal because he goes, "Yeah, you really do suck."
Yeah. So, okay. We haven't got too much longer left here in the chat there. Tonight's been it's been a fiasco for sure. But you know what? So with Canoeopia coming up, okay, so Steve's going to be there. I'll be there. John's going to be there. Kevin's going to be there. Jerry's going to be there. And Stuy's wishing he was there. Mm-hmm. Right? So you can still drive down, Stuy. I know it's only 5 hours. But, okay.
So
Kevin and John, you guys got something going on at Canoeopia. What's going on between the two of you there?
Oh, yeah, John. Tell me about it.
So Kevin and I and Cliff Jacobson on Sunday morning, we're going to be doing a safety panel. And so we will, it's in one of the big ballrooms there, and we'll be taking people's questions. And so anything safety, anything outdoors, camping, whatever it might be, and we'll be answering questions there. So, but Cliff and Kevin have years of great experience, and I have years of misadventures. So they can tell them how to do stuff. I can tell them how not to do stuff. Somewhere in between, I think we'll be in good shape. Yep,
that's awesome. And then Kevin, you're a busy boy at Canoeopia this year.
Yeah, a little maybe too busy, I guess, but that's all right. I'm doing that show. I'm doing the Jerry show. I'm presenting 3 times, and I'm doing the MC for the cooking thing, which is hilarious. So it all should be fine. I actually love the show. It's good to be busy. And then I get to fall asleep on a beanbag chair. Beanbag? No, beanbag chair. Bang, bang, bang. Bing chair. Yeah.
So when are we going to get a chance to have a beer or a scotch down there?
Oh, what, in his basement?
No, Canoeopia. We got like 7 different things going on, right? So
No, you know what? I actually, that shows that I really don't. I don't know time to drink, man.
I'll have a beer with you, Dennis, just to, you know.
No, if you watch me at the when I MC the camp cooking thing, it's the end of the day, and they have wine they have for cooking. I'll be the first to open that up and start giving it to everybody. Yeah,
Cool. That's all right. You're not throwing rocks at the crowd. How about you, Steve? Are you going to be at your display for the most part?
Yeah, I'll be wearing a helmet so Kevin can throw rocks at me. Yeah, I'll be at the display. We'll have 3 or 4 of us there. So you should drop down, Sty. You can see us.
I sure, yeah.
Dennis.
I get it every day of the week. I got business this weekend, and yeah, it's only about a 5-hour drive for me, 4.5, 5-hour drive. Oh boy, you won't miss me. You know, you'll probably recognize me if I manage to get down. So,
well, how about I drive 10 hours, you drive 5?
That's yeah. It's a big. Yeah, I'm glad it's only 5 hours. I'm just not so glad that certain associates of mine messed up this weekend.
Yeah, jeez.
Well, if you guys want to get a flavor of what those shows are all about, not just Canoeopia, but the Quiet Adventure show, the Toronto show, whatever, I just posted a video today on just the my best of, because I just did a whiskey chat, and I had so much more B-roll to show. I couldn't, because it's like, this is ridiculous. It's half hour long already. But it reminds me of all the good times. Like, I mean, John and Steven and Terry, like, I don't know if you can hear me, whatever, but it just shows you how really solid this canoe community is, and how many friends we've had over the past. It's fantastic. So yeah, it was a good smile when I put that together today. And Canoeopia, man, it's true. It's an insane, crazy, wild show. A good information, good entertainment. But at the end of it, I need a canoe trip.
So the
just a plug for what Kevin's saying. That was the best half hour of my week. I mean, that when he posted that, I jumped right on, and I was out unloading railroad ties off of a semi trailer all day today, and I got a notification on my phone, and then the guys are yelling at me, "You lazy old man!" I said, "Shut up! I'm watching Callan at all of his shows." and half hour later, they're going, "Oh, no way! That was a half hour you sat there on your butt." And I said, "Yeah, Callan don't know when to shut up."
No. Well, the one B-roll I didn't put in, John, is when you saved my butt at the Midwest show. You became me because I don't.
God.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That's true. Years ago, right?
Yeah, it was. I basically I had my flight changed and I had to get out of there, and I had one more presentation. I go, I can't do this. I'll miss my flight. So I said, John, and I didn't know you at all. Actually, then I go, hey, do you want to do my show for me? He goes, okay. And I think you wore a name tag, Kevin Callan. No, I'm not Kevin Callan. Or something.
I wore a name tag that said not Kevin Callan. And the thing is that I don't know if I've told you this. It's really funny. Like, so they did everything they could to let people know that you weren't going to be there, right? That you had, And so I go into the room, and it's one of these big classrooms on the University of Minnesota campus. It's where this event is. And I had 8 people in there. And I wrote up on the board, not Kevin Callan. And I don't remember what presentation I did at the time, for whatever. And 2 people got up and walked out.
Oh my God.
Oh, jeez.
So there were like 6 people who took pity on me and stayed and heard the presentation.
I've heard John present before. That's crap. You're a really good presenter. Yeah, and there's a video of you presenting at the show in Kitchener, isn't there?
Mm.
Yeah, check it out. And actually, we're really busy at shows, so we never really get to see anybody present, right? And
right.
Until I saw that video, I was like, man, this guy's good on stage. This is good. I'm glad he became better. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm doing at Canoeopia on Saturday. I've got one on paddling in Texas. I mentioned earlier. That's actually going to be fun because we have footage of whitewater paddling through a forest, because they opened this thing up and they overflowed the dam open. So we were whitewater paddling through a forest, which was cool.
Wow.
And then what is it, on Sunday morning, Kevin and Cliff and I will be doing the presentation on safety and the panel. And so we'll be taking people's questions, which will be awesome. And then Sunday afternoon, I'm doing one on outdoor and wildlife photography. So lots of pictures of bears, stories behind the photos. And that's called Lions and Great Whites and Bears. Oh my. So if anybody's out there, come on in.
For sure. I'm hoping to take some of these in. I won't be at the show until probably sometime afternoon, maybe 1 o'clock, just because of the time our flight comes in on Saturday.
Yep.
I'll be there all day Sunday too. So
cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And the what is it? The aluminum chef. That's going on what, Saturday? Right at the end of the show, is it not?
Yeah, so it's the last thing. Yeah, that's crazy. That I mean, the history of that. Even looking at those videos today when I was doing the B-roll stuff, they had me as one of the cooks for a few years, and I just like playing the harmonica. I was terrible. And I actually, and Marty and I, and the other cook too. I forget his name. His name. And we kept on saying there's like too much male going on here. We need someone that's not male on stage. And so Mona was going to do it, and she did her own dehydrating. Would that be awesome? So I just bailed out. I said, well, I'll just bail for it. And then they said, well, do you want to be MC? I went, you have no idea what you're doing being MC. And I started throwing food at people. And then Nancy, B-roll I have of Nancy that I can never show to anybody, of her saying, Kevin, shut it down now, grabbing my camera. And you just calm down for once.
That's hilarious. That's cool. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot going on. Kevin, if you need me to record anything there, any of your presentations, let me know. Maybe I can pop in and get some footage for you, because I know it's kind of difficult for you to do it.
Well, the big thing is when I'm playing with Jerry, we never really have a good video of us being idiots on the stage together. So we get little bits and pieces. So him and I were talking a couple weeks ago that it would be good to film that. It's going to be a terrible harmonica solo, but there is a surprise. So everybody is wondering, well, now we know what he's going to do, because it's always a surprise what I'm going to do. Well, now everybody knows I'm going to play harmonica with him, but there is another surprise.
Okay, well, can you do me a favor and drop me an email with that show time and where it's going to be, because I know they got like 12 different rooms or something.
Yeah.
And let me know when it's going to be, and I'll come down and shoot or record that for you.
That sounds awesome.
Hopefully, I'll be there.
And yeah. Steve, we're going out for ribs on Friday night.
Yes, I heard you buying.
Wait, what?
No.
You quiet he got?
No.
I'm in.
No, because we go to this every year. Yeah. I go out in Novacraft. We go to this great rib place. I forget the name, but
Famous
I always fish. And it isn't. I told I'm not allowed to go anymore. It's embarrassing. I ordered the fish at a rib place.
Yes, we're going out probably Friday night.
I think I need to talk to you on Friday night about some important business. Maybe we should do it that evening for dinner, Steve.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm speechless.
We're gonna wrap it up for tonight, gentlemen. If you could stick around in on the stream here until after I close down the broadcast, then we could have a little chat for a few minutes before we close it right up. And I'm just going to take this down. So don't forget, everybody, you can get more information on the Yukon Journey and the Outdoor Kind. You'll find all the information in the links below in the description of this video. So be sure to check it out. If you can shoot John some support there for the Outdoor Kind, that would be awesome, because it really is a good cause. Obviously, you can see a lot of people are standing behind it. As I mentioned, I will be at Canoecopia too. If you see me wandering around, please do stop me, say hello. I'd love to meet y'all. It's always a fun thing to do for sure. And if you haven't already done so tonight, please do subscribe to CanoeHound Adventures. Hit that bell notification. Smash a thumbs up on the stream here if you can as well. That just helps me grow as a channel, and that's really what it's all about. John, thanks very much for being a guest tonight, man. I know we had to pull a few strings because you were actually slated for a different date, and we moved you up. I appreciate you filling in. That's awesome.
No problem.
Not filling in, but choosing this date.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate your having me on. Before we go, I just want to give a shout out to my dad. And I want to do that with this mug, which came from our camping place in the 1960s in central Wisconsin. So I'll say hello to him. And I'll thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Well, if I could add to that, my mom is also in the chat tonight too, Dorothy Rogers. And I'm sure my dad's lurking in the background. Hello, good to see you. Gentlemen, Steve, thanks very much for jumping on.
No
Jerry,
problem,
thank you so much for trying.
Yeah.
Sty, as usual, and Kevin, thanks very much for popping on as well. You're like my what's his name? Ed McMahon?
No, this is my last show. That's it. I'm done.
No. You can't. You can't do that. Read the contract.
Oh.
That's all right. So anyways, don't forget in 2 weeks or next week, we got our St. Patty's Day party going on here. In 2 weeks, we will have, or on the 24th, we got Alexis Outdoors. So you'll want to tune in for that there. It's going to be a fun evening as well. So check us out on Facebook for all the updated stuff, and you'll know exactly what's going on. In the meantime, keep the adventures alive and have a great week, everybody. Thanks very much for tuning in.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.